This is the BBC Home Service.
The Citizens Atlas isn't a big leather-bound book of maps of London. It's an ongoing creative mapping project engaging different community groups, different organisations within London. It's a way of bringing together community-based, localised mapping, people thinking about what makes things work in their area with a view to addressing the big London 2050 plan.
The London plan was invented in the year 2000, and it was decided that the London Authority, which really consists of the Mayor, would be required to produce a whole lot of strategies for the economy, for transport, for health and so on. And its purpose is to link up all the policy strands relating to the development of London in a geographical, spatial pattern. One of the main mechanisms which the London plan uses is through designating what are called opportunity areas, which are areas which are expected or planned to make a big contribution to new output of housing or jobs or both. These opportunity areas have some enormous problems. One of them is that there is no proper democratic procedure for designating them. All that has to happen here is that the area has a line round it in the London plan, and then it's supposed later on to get an opportunity area action plan, but there's no adequate procedure for that and very little chance for people who live in the area or around it or the businesses that stand to be extinguished to have a say in devising that plan.
There's whole sections of the community that are experiencing great challenges and great difficulties because of the kind of urban policies and planning policies being pursued, who are very alienated from public involvement and community involvement. We want to try and work out a way of reaching those groups and involving them on their own terms and on their own ground, but also helping them to actually relate their own predicaments and challenges to those of other groups.
If your kid is 18 now, they're going to be 50 when the 2050 plan comes to fruition. That plan, therefore, is going to be affecting 2 or 3 generations of your family. So we're looking at ways in which people can be putting things together now, having an input, arming themselves about implications and addressing what's going to affect them and their children and their grandchildren over the next 2 generations.
The idea of the Citizens Atlas is to create an atlas focusing on those communities that have been identified as living in opportunity areas in the London 2050 plan. And the issue is opportunity for whom? Opportunity for property developers, opportunity for global real estate, or opportunities for those communities to have a real say and stake in the future of their areas. So the idea of the Citizens Atlas is to create a network of citizen mappers concentrated in those areas, and particularly involving people who are not involved in any kind of community politics. The people in those areas have no idea what's coming down the road. Some of those areas won't be in the front line of regeneration for maybe 10 or 15 years. So the challenge of the project is to enable people to not just consider the present, but to actually envisage the future, and to basically maybe challenge the priorities that presently inform the London 2050 plan and map out their own vision for their kind of town. Livingmaps is a network of artists, activists and academics who are interested in using maps as part of a participatory community action and development strategy. We've been working on several projects over the last 3 or 4 years in which we've used a diversity of approaches to participatory mapping. So I think our approach is not to have a sort of one-size-fits-all approach to mapping, but to choose the most appropriate approach for enabling people to put themselves on the map and address the kinds of issues that are of concern to them.
Consultation processes in London don't work properly, and we think we've got some methods that kind of cut a lot of the problems of that out. We have a group of different people with a variety of creative verbal and visual approaches to mapping that will bring out more individual and collective views about what happens in London. So how people feel about their neighbourhood, how they feel about the space they live in.
Talking map is a type of life map that situates people's places, histories and lifetimes on a piece of paper. And it's a method of interviewing immigrants who lives as a minority in London. The map itself starts very personal, but then it finishes as very global issues.
Just Map is very much about collaborative, co-produced mapping. So we have a simple recording system with a number on the flag, and someone puts the flag on the map and writes on our recording sheet the place or the issue that they want to map. And it's a very flexible methodology as well, because it can be used around any kind of theme. We've done maps around neighbourhood planning, but also things that are slightly more cultural in a sense.
In London, there were huge amounts of demolition work going on, huge amounts of construction work, and with no clear idea of where these were coming from or who had control over these issues, certainly not us. And we thought it would be interesting to take a map and sort of invite people to make those decisions, to sort of let their imagination flow. And actually, by giving them like a tool to cut that thing off the map that they wanted to cut off. And at the end of the session, we're left with people's loves and hates and feelings about their urban environment and feelings about their experiences in that environment.
We've been doing some pilot work with different groups of people to try out different ways of working, different mapping processes. And the idea now is to sort of expand that and spread that around and pass those working processes on to other people who we can work with and bring together different voices and different neighbourhood views about what's happening in London, so that each neighbourhood can strengthen what it's saying and what other neighbourhoods are saying.
I guess the thing that the Citizens Atlas is doing is looking to the far future, and sort of anything that opens up possibilities is interesting for that, is that stimulates people's imaginations, that stimulates all sorts of possible futures.
I think a Citizens Atlas of London should actually be very much about what people would really like to see in the places they live in, what they would choose to place there, and actually to use that as a platform for enabling that to come about, and really sort of be a tool to enable people to properly engage with what's going on, rather than this consultation process which is now widely derided as a con.
The material that people produce will be uploaded onto an online platform where people from different areas can put up material which relates to either the past, the present or the future of their area. And that will hopefully begin to shape up a sort of bottom-up view and vision of what London's future might look like. I mean, based on the mapping work and other work around it that these local groups do. And second, I suppose, we hope that by creating that material, by creating that platform, we'll bring into sharper focus politically some of the issues that need to be addressed if London is to be a viable city for ordinary people, that people can afford to live here with decent jobs and decent housing.
There are many possible Londons, and the future of London is being determined now, and it's being determined by all of us. So there's the smart city, the digital city, there's the city that's shaped by finance, there's the city that's kind of post-industrial wasteland, there's London's tourist heritage city with no industry. And what we're looking at is saying, what kind of city do people want? Does the citizens of London want? What kind of city do they want that's democratically controlled by them?